So in that last section, we spoke about how we're going to communicate information from the search input to the app. So step one is to refactor our app into a class-based component. Now, I know that we've already learned about refactoring a functional component over to a class-based component. So I'm just going to take this and I'll replace it with class app extends react.component. And then inside I'm going to define render function, and I'll put a curly brace on the other side of it, like so. All right, so now we can define a callback function on the app. I'm going to give it a name of onSearchSubmit. And I'm going to say that this thing gets called with our search entry. All right, so right now, let's just console log that entry and make sure that it shows up inside the app. So we can now take this method and pass it down to the search input as a props. So I'll say to my props, onSearchSubmit, and pass it to our onSearchSubmit method. And of course, I gave the same name to my props and this callback method right here. I'm going to call this callback with this same props name inside of my search input component. And I want to run this function each time that the search input component is submitted. So the onSubmit event handler is going to run this function. All right, then inside the onFormSubmit, rather than console log out our entry, we instead want to call the onSearchSubmit, which was passed in as props to this component. Yeah, you with me? Good. Now remember that anytime we pass a props down into a component that we're creating, we refer to that props with this name. So inside of this search input, to reference that props, we would say this.props.onSearchSubmit. Terrific. We're here. But there's one little issue that I want to bring up. Throughout this course, we have made use of props, but always in a functional component. Have you noticed that? This is the first time that we're going to make use of props inside of a class-based component. One little difference between the two: when we're in a class-based component, we reference the props object with this.props. That's it. Yeah, that's the only difference. Cool. Not a lot to remember. Now, to get access to the callback that was passed from the app down to our search input, we would reference this.props.onSearchSubmit. Then I'll call that, and when I call, it'll pass in this state entry as an argument, like so. That's it. So we're now saying that whenever a user submits the form, we're going to run onFormSubmit here. We take the event and prevent the default behavior that would cause the page to refresh itself. And then we look at our prop subject and we call the function that was passed into this thing as the onSearchSubmit. And then we invoke that function with this.state.entry. So this is the function that ultimately is going to be invoked. And for right now, we're just going to console log out some value. All right. That's good. So let's test this. So I'll put in some text here and hit enter. Now just notice that it was console from the app file. All right, so we're not done yet. So we're going to take a break, and I'll see you in the next one.